This is Hannibal here from the Hannibal TV on YouTube with a huge wrestling news update for you. So let's get it started. A bunch of pictures that a fan, I guess, took of Ric Flair on his way back from his recent AEW appearance. Has a lot of people wondering if he's okay. I mean, who knows? He still drinks. He could have been drinking on the plane on the way home, which might be why he looks a little rough there, because reports are indicating he's recovering well after being hospitalized for a rotator cuff injury. He publicly apologized for not being on AEW Dynamite last week, despite being in the building. However, I don't really know why he like. Here's the thing: yes, he has a torn rotator cuff, but why couldn't he have still done something on the show? I don't know. Or why couldn't they have just done that pre-tape behind the scenes with Ricky Steamboat and then shown it? Because they had him out in front of the crowd anyways. So he just didn't appear on TV, but still he supposedly appeared in front of the crowd and also signed autographs. And apparently he's been under contract for 2 years. So that explains this week. But a lot of people, I actually did a poll. The viewers of my channel, by quite a large margin, 59% of you actually think Ric Flair, now that Hulk Hogan's dead, is the greatest living professional wrestler of all time. Between Flair, The Undertaker, Cena, and The Rock, Cena was by far the last, only 5% of the vote. Sorry, I didn't put The Rock on here because you could only, for YouTube polls, you can only have 4 people. And The Rock is known more of a movie star than a wrestler. Yes, The Rock is more famous than all of these people. However, he's thought of more by the general public as a movie star. So we wish Ric Flair the best, and we hope he does more on AEW in the future, because I think he's only had like 5 or 6 appearances total with AEW, and he's been under contract 2 years. From what I understand, there could be a month left of his contract. John Cena, apparently there was, when they put the tickets on sale for his final match, the Saturday night main event appearance next month in Washington, it's a 20,000 seat arena. There's less than 15,000 tickets sold right now, but apparently when they put tickets on sale, there was 60,000 people waiting on the phone to buy tickets. However, the cheapest tickets are like $500. So a lot of the people, I mean, that would have been an instant sellout, but I guess prices were just too high. They continue to put tickets up in WWE higher and higher as the quality of their product continues to decline. They did have 18,000 in Madison Square Garden last night for John Cena's final wrestling match in Madison Square Garden. Weirdly enough, as I talked about in my short news update earlier, they showed that Stephanie McMahon was there on TV, but they didn't show that Shane McMahon was there. So Shane is being treated like the redheaded stepchild. The new rating system, ever since it's come into play for the past month or two, wrestling has really gone down in ratings. And for the people that are wondering why, it's more accurate. For instance, I guess for the old Nielsen rating system, they were basing that on about 42,000 total devices, where this new rating system that I guess includes some streaming devices as well, there's 45 million devices. So it's far more accurate than the old system based on 42,000 devices. No one really knows why they brought Dolph Ziggler back last night. It's kind of a disappointing return. He was pretty much a job guy his last bunch of times with WWE. But he got a good reaction when he came out, so congratulations to him. But apparently at this point he's signed with TNA, which does work with WWE, so it was an easy appearance. However, at this point, it was still a one-time thing. Apparently, the priority packages for WrestleMania in Las Vegas. And as I just talked about, the products going down in quality, but the costs are going up. The priority passes per ticket for one of these priority passes for WrestleMania next year is from $1,600 to $37,500. $37,500 for a priority pass. Who has that kind of disposable money where you'd want to pay 37,500 on wrestling? And I would think if you had it, if you're like an Elon Musk type guy, you wouldn't find the current product entertaining enough to just throw that kind of money away. Imagine what you could do if you donated that to like a humane society shelter or an SPCA. I think I would get a lot of satisfaction if I had that much extra money to donate it to a cause rather than spend it on a wrestling ticket. Apparently, Tori Wilson is now a mother. She's 50 years old, so she had the kid through a surrogate. She famously used to date Billy Kidman. Have no idea who she's going out with now, but I'm guessing it's someone not in the wrestling industry. Apparently, Kidman, I think he's still with WWE, is quite a ladies' man. So it's always the ones that you wouldn't necessarily think would be that are sometimes. By the way, it's been confirmed by Brian Alvarez the minimum NXT pay is actually 75,000 US a year. That's what the minimum person is getting. It could go up to around 250,000, but the reports that came out last week of some people saying that they only get 30,000. That was false. The minimum pay is 75,000, and apparently WWE isn't happy. Reports came out. So I did just finish watching Tony Khan's interview with Ariel Helwani. I watched the full thing. I hadn't seen a full interview with Tony Khan for a while. I will say this: he's a nice guy. I might not agree with him on like his definition of a good wrestling match is not the same as me. I'm very much into the realism of things. And I'm not, when I say realism, someone getting thrown through a bed of nails or onto a fiery table, to me, that might hurt, or getting a staple gun, but that's not real because in a real fight, you're not going to use a staple gun. And then there's the choreographed looking stuff that just looks phony. I'm into like the Bruiser Brody and Road Warriors type realism or Ultimate Warrior type realism, the ass kickers or the Stampede wrestling style that I was taught, the realistic style where it's guys that like make you believe, which I think is really missing right now in wrestling. Actually, AJ Styles said it. Selling is one thing that's missing, and that goes into the believability because when nothing is sold, how are you supposed to believe everything is real? But Khan gave a lot of information in this, and I did enjoy the interview. He said he is the head booker. He is hands on every episode of every AEW show. He says he listens to and uses other people's ideas, but he is the only person at every show. There is 104 TV shows a year, not including pay-per-views. He will hear out coaches and staff, but it's not the same people at every event. So, and as we've said, for various reasons, people can go a long time without wrestling or appearing in AEW. I don't even know if Colt Cabana is still with the company or not. I think he might be, but he's just basically saying there he doesn't have like a right hand man like back when it was Vince, Pat Patterson, Bruce Pritchard, Vince Russo, and Jim Cornette, Jim Ross. Like even then, it was like what, six? McMahon had more of a circle around him. Tony Khan, he's doing it all. Plus, he has his football and soccer duties. So he's a workaholic and he likes to have his hands on everything. It's his family money. He can do whatever he wants. He says 2025 has been his favorite year for AEW events and matches. He says he has strong partners with Warner Brothers Discovery. And DC Comics is part of Warner Brothers Discovery. And I'm not doing this for anything bad, but I actually looked up Warner Brothers Discovery, who who, uh, who pay AEW a lot for their product. Oh, it's not showing up, but $11.5 million last year. Warner Brothers Discovery did. So yeah, they're a strong partner, but they're not profitable right now. Hopefully that'll change. He also worked with the NFL. He has a lot of strong television relationships based on the work he does with the NFL. Ariel Hawani brought this up and he says he doesn't know why, so it's not like a personal reason why. He is the only major combat sports company with no Saudi Arabia relationship. Oh, there it is. Warner Brothers Discovery lost 11.5 billion last year. So there's no personal reason why he's not going to Saudi Arabia. Maybe WWE is getting like 55 million to over 100 million a show to go there. So it's strange unless it's for like reasons for they don't agree with certain values of the country. Tony Khan's not revealing why they have no Saudi Arabia deal. He says TV is the bread and butter of the company. He claims he has no idea what AEW's streaming numbers are. So take that if you want to believe it or not. He has no idea what kind of numbers it's getting on their streaming service. He says he's closing the gap between WWE and AEW, and last week was a sign of that. They did have their big Blood and Guts show last week, and the Blood and Guts show did beat the NXT rating. So he is why is that popping up now? So yeah, they did beat NXT last week, and the gap between AEW and WWE was closer. However, it was blood and guts. People were thrown through tables. There was multi-person cage matches. They put a lot of effort into promoting it. So maybe they should do that more. Apparently, he doesn't regret posting the CM Punk security camera footage with Jungle Boy. He doesn't agree with how CM Punk said the whole situation went down. He wishes that the situation could have been worked out better. He doesn't agree with CM Punk saying that he lets people walk all over him. Even though Dana White is part of TKO, he's still friends with Dana White. And they recently went to a Miami Hurricanes game together. He says he will not comment whether Andrade misrepresented his status when he had that appearance on Dynamite a few weeks ago, right after. I'll just say one thing about that appearance. I find Andrade boring. That was actually, I believe, the lowest Dynamite rating ever, 0.06. So why are people still talking about it? Like it's not like Scott Hall came on and everyone was talking about it in a good way. Andrade appeared and it was lowest rating ever. But he will not comment on if Andrade misrepresented himself or not. But he says he has a good relationship with Andrade. For Chris Jericho, he says Jericho is still in AEW. Jericho is still on the payroll. He can't speak to if Jericho is going to be back or not. And he can't get into the reasons why Jericho hasn't been appearing despite being under contract. He indicated that Edge is not going to be coming back to wrestle John Cena despite the teasing of it. And this is really light teasing of it between Edge and Cena and the fans getting excited. He says Edge is taking time off right now and he will be back. MJF is also taking time off right now. For Miro, who apparently Miro made over $1 million in AEW a year, according to reports, he said Miro and him had different visions. Miro is one of the most overrated wrestlers, and as I said, I got no respect for a guy that lets his wife make out with another coworker on top of him. But he's made a lot of money in his wrestling career, so good for him. But as a man, I don't know how any man could respect him. He says he claims he hasn't talked at all to Killer Cross. He doesn't know when Will Ospreay will be back, but it will likely be next year. Says Adam Cole, he has no idea when he'll be back, but he's still part of the family. There's a lot of people giving sympathy to Adam Cole, and yes, I feel bad for him. But let's face the fact here, the guy is a millionaire. There's a lot of other people out there with injuries that aren't millionaires that still have to go to work with even worse injuries than him. I used to be a bouncer, okay? For years and years and years. I've worked with people and I've been in situations where you've had concussions and injuries and you got to go back the next night because otherwise you don't get paid. So yeah, I feel bad for whatever injury Adam Cole has, but I'm not going to be going crying over a guy that's set for life. As far as him trademarking Shockwave, he didn't know that NWA used that name for a show before. Neither does anyone else because nobody watches NWA. He also says that he's talked to Billy Corgan about using he's calling an AEW title a national title, and some NWA people were upset with that. Many companies have national titles, so who cares? But he says that Billy Corgan has given him his blessing to have a national title in AEW. He said there's nothing new going on right now with Ring of Honor other than less involvement of Ring of Honor in AEW because a lot of the fans were not liking that. But no news on any TV deal or anything for Ring of Honor. You know what? As I know a lot, it's easy to get frustrated with Tony Khan, but I do like him as a person. And I sure wish they would give people like me opportunities to make money after paying dues since 2001. And actually, in case anyone doesn't know, I have more subscribers than any of the announcers in AEW, including Jim Ross. I have more YouTube subscribers than Moxley's wife, than any of the announcers. But you know what? Yes, I wish I could get some of those millions because I have to work my ass off to make money. But I'm not going to be bitter about it. I hope that they do better because if the wrestling business does better, I'll make more money. Yeah, Ivan, I think MSG can hold something like 23,000. Back when Billy Graham and Bruno were running it, held about 23,000. But I mean, it's better than the days when Kofi Kingston was champion and they had like 7,000 people in Madison Square Garden. The John Cena retirement story has not been well executed. No, I agree. John, the only person that has the kind of money to do that is that, yeah, apparently there is this guy that was being seen at all the pay-per-views with the green shirts, but he must be running out of money because he's been not seen at all of them anymore. I don't know who has that kind of money though, honestly, to spend $37,500 on one ticket. I don't know. K Dog, I honestly have zero interest in watching Raw. The Boston Cena match was SmackDown. So now he's had his final SmackDown match, his final Raw match. And by the way, that SmackDown did a 0.28 rating. So yeah, I would say this is if your final match ever on SmackDown gets a 0.28 rating, it's safe to say the reason why most people, only 5% of the people said he would be considered one of the GOATs. And I'm guessing those people are younger people that weren't around during Flair's prime. The guy with the green shirt is back living in his mom's basement. Yeah, who knows? You know what? I wish all the companies luck. I honestly am not biased to any of them, but I don't watch really any of them because I'd rather watch UFO videos. Or I did enjoy this interview with Tony and Ariel. I did watch the whole interview because I like to get his perspective on things. So let me know Chris, AEW is going to survive because it's owned by a billionaire. There are some negatives to it being around. The independents are dying. There's less independence. And now that everyone makes so much money, it's harder to put on indie shows. But you know what? I might put on at least one indie show next year because people complain to me because I have a lot of old school wrestling fans that they want to see some old school wrestling, and we're just not going to see that with any of the products out there right now. So I might have to do at least one show next year, promote it myself, and see how things go. Because you know what? I can't watch the current products today. I wish I could, but I just can't. It aggravates me because I miss the days of the wrestling that I fell in love with. Wish everybody a great night. I'm going off to the gym.